What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of For the Love of Bodybuilding. I'm your host, Logan Schultz, and with me, your co-host, Ian Powell. Ian, how's your last 7 days been? What's going on, buddy?
What is going on, dude? This does. I feel like I've seen a lot of memes recently, seeing how long January is, and looking at my calendar, I was like, yeah, we still have like another week of January.
Yeah,
This is despite having Texas winter storms and making it feel even longer, right? We've had like 2 or 3 storms in this month of January. It feels like that have been ridiculously cold that we just never get.
yeah, I know.
And I told people in summer, I was like, you know what? This is pretty mild summer. That probably means we're probably going to get destroyed in the winter. And then, I mean, it's been cold, but it hasn't been destructive like
Yeah,
was it 2021 where like the structure just like blew up.
I think so. Yeah, when we had the ice,
Yeah, well, we had the ice. Yeah, I was in Corpus at the time, and they put us on a water boil for like 5 days.
we went
And
without power for like 10.
oh yeah, yeah. Was that when you went 10 days? Damn, how
We went like 10 or 14 days without power. Like it was maybe not that long.
do you survive?
It was a while. We went at least a week without power.
Yeah, that's rough.
We've gone without power a lot
I feel like you
recently.
have. I feel like you have. Even like a couple of years ago, there was an instance where you're out power, and it was like in the summer and it was hot.
Last year,
Um,
yeah.
oh, was that last year? Yeah. But other than that, I am exiting my health phase, which is nice. So for anybody that's interested, health phase for me, basically at least once a year, ever since I've started gear in late 2022, I've just come completely off. Now, the first 2 times when I come completely off, I just came completely off. I didn't do any PCT. I didn't do anything like that. This time around, I did do a PCT, and overall, I felt a lot better during the 2 months that I was off. Obviously, there was like the really big lagging period between weeks 2 and 3 where I just really just could have probably slept all day and totally been fine. But after that, I felt pretty okay, and I was able to keep up composition. I only really lost like 4 or 5 pounds for my off-season push. A lot of that obviously is just basically water and stuff like that for nitrogen retention, but I felt pretty good. I got my lab numbers back, so I think you'll like this. So LH was still pretty low because I was using HCG. It was there, but it was still obviously pretty low. My estrogen was at 4, so basically no no estrogen. And then my testosterone was like 147. Free test was like 41. Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
pretty decent free test number for
yeah. So
that
I think
total
that's
test.
I think that's why I felt pretty good. I was like, oh, because I was still utilizing a good amount of my
Yeah,
whatever
you
test
are.
that I had. What that I had.
Yeah.
So definitely happy to be out of that. Happy to enjoy life again, per se. Especially training. Training is a whole different ballgame when it
Yeah.
comes to PEDs. But that's kind of what's going on with me. What's been going on with you, man?
So have you officially added in anything?
Yeah, just testosterone as a
Okay.
base. Then
Okay.
we'll see. I need to let it kind of spool up here for a little.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So, what's been going on? So, reverse has gone well. We are 6 weeks post show. My weight's up to about 220. Um, look is pretty good. I'm a little softer, but I'm much fuller. Still only been training 3 days a week. So the next 2 weeks I am going to Europe and I'm going to take it completely off. Food, I'm going to eat whatever I want when I want. I won't be training, with the exception of we will be in Barcelona at the end of the trip, and my wife has to work for about a day and a half. So I'm gonna do, if I can find one, I'm gonna do an e-bike tour through the mountains, which that'll be pretty physically demanding.
Hell yeah, well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And the nice thing about the e-bike is that I can make it as hard as I want to make it, or I can make it easy, you know?
Yep.
So, and then I might find somewhere to train while I'm there. We'll see. Well, kind of depends on how I'm feeling. But yeah, once I get back, we are going to do a little bit of we're going to run into the off season and push. Andrew's extremely happy with how the rebound went. He was like, honestly, like you're in a place right now where I think we could add drugs in, pull back food a little bit, and have you ready for another show in 3 or 4 weeks. So he's really happy with where we are. Um, Skin still feels really thin, like especially like on my lower abdomen. It's just like I'm just so blasting full. And
Mhm.
when I eat bad, you can see that it adds a little bit of like inflammation and water that just doesn't quite look as good. So,
Mhm.
but all in all, I'll get blood work when I get back. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of how things have been going and what's been going on.
Do you think if this was your second, third, or maybe even fourth show, you think you would have been able to rebound as good, or would you contribute to that mostly as being an experience, or
Yeah,
just kind of it's experience, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Look, as much as I would love to be like, and I wasn't perfect by any means. I still had uh, quite a bit of mess ups, and a lot of days I was eating more food than what I was told to eat. Okay, so by no means was it perfect at all. Um, but yeah, it just generally each prep gets a little bit easier in the off season, and then I think we've discussed it before, but the prep itself was a little bit easier for me than previous preps were, and so I think that that's kind of another key factor, right? The only other time I had a really good rebound was after I won my overall, and I think that one was only because I was so motivated to go to nationals. It was, like for some reason when I win, I get more motivated than when I lose.
I mean, it just kind of it's almost like it just gives you that clarity. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to maybe be doing this.
Yeah,
I'm in the right direction, right?
yeah, yeah,
Where losing is almost like like
yeah.
what do I waste all this time?
Yep. I mean, also like normally, so this is the first show that I have not run any drugs afterwards. I say no drugs. I'm running 40 milligrams of testosterone every other day and 40 milligrams of primo, basically natty, you know,
It's 100% natural, basically.
and then some growth hormone and insulin. But the growth hormone and insulin are contributing to my look and why I look so full. My weight would probably be 7 to 8 pounds down if I wasn't using it.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
yeah, weight fluctuates quite a bit throughout the week depending on when I take it versus when I'm not, because I only use
Mhm.
it on training days. So,
Yeah.
yep.
I think that's a pretty good segue to basically sum up. Since it's early on in the season, right?
Hmm.
Nothing has really happened for anybody. It's the first month of the year. People are thinking about doing shows. Maybe they've never competed for. Maybe they have competed for. Maybe they're going for the third, fourth, fifth show. Maybe they're going for the first time going nationals. Whatever it may be. But now is the time to for those people considering to do preps if they are ready to do a contest prep. There are many ways we can start by digging down on this. I think we'll go ahead and I'll start by asking you, what is the number one thing that sticks out to you when you think about having someone come to you and say, "Hey, I want to do a contest."
The first question I've got to ask is it their first time or not? I feel like that's like that has to be the first question, right? Or even if you don't have to ask it, you need to know it, right? Because that's really going to dictate a lot.
Absolutely.
From there, it depends, right? I might if I have a more experienced person come to me and they can kind of tell me what has and hasn't worked in the past, I can probably learn their body pretty quick. Give me 20 weeks and we can probably get it done. However, if they can't do that, if they've only competed once or twice, if they're not really knowledgeable in what's been happening, um, yeah, I'm not taking you on for a 12 to 20 week prep unless I've already been working with you for a little while.
Yep. Yep. I totally agree with that. I mean, you see, I think one of the big thing people can take away from that is the first thing you said is give me 20 weeks so I can get it done. You see many people that they want to do a show and they're like, yeah, it's about 12 weeks away. Like, I really want to do the show. It's close. My family can show up. Then you take a look at them and you're like, when's the last time you actually dieted?
Yeah.
Like, even like a mini cut, even like a macro, my fitness pal 8 week cut. Like, when's the
Yeah.
last time you done these things? So I think people really need to kind of hamper their expectations and be ready to be putting in the work for an extended period of time. you're not going to have a 16-week prep unless you're already in great shape and you've already done it a few times. If
Yeah.
you're a first timer, male or female, you need to give yourself at least 20
Look,
weeks.
if you're experienced and you've been doing this a while, right, and you have a good look right now, you're lean, you already look like you're 8 weeks out, and your diet's on point, your training's on point, like you're on point, like sure, I have no problem taking you on for prep only and running 12 to 16 weeks. Like I want a couple of weeks of a buffer so that I can learn your body, right? But for 97% of people, that's just not the case. We need more time than that. You need more time than that because you have to also learn how to make this work. This shit's hard. And you're going to have to learn how to not grab a bag of chips when you're roaming through the kitchen.
Yeah. It's so much easier said than done. But if you've never experienced hunger before, controlled hunger, voluntarily being hungry, it will catch you off and it will absolutely test your limits, especially if you have
It will.
family or whatever else is around you. So I think that's probably the other thing when I ask somebody if they're ready for contest prep, I ask about how's their relationships are, how's their like family, wife, husband, kids, like what else is involved, and are they in a good spot, or are they in a shaky marriage, or if they're having issues with kids or whatever it may be.
Yep.
Making sure that is in check, because the added stress will not only make you more susceptible to eating off plan or just not taking your boxes, it's also just going to stress you out. And chances are you're going to crash and burn sometime during the prep. And that's just not a good psychology. And it's just not a good place to be.
Yep. That's a very good point. Another thing is going to be finances. Like, are your finances in check? It, it's expensive, right? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
it's much more expensive for women
Oh,
in
yeah.
the aspect of like a bikini is going to cost, what, $400 to $800.
Yep.
And then you've got hair and makeup, and you've got the tan, and you've got the registration fees, and you're probably going to end up hiring a posing coach. So it's like it adds up. It's a lot of money. For a man's going to spend a little bit more on gear and not nearly much on the show day, assuming that he is using gear.
Yep.
But yeah, finances have to be rock solid, man. Um, and the more that they're not, just exactly like what you said, it's going to be more stressful. It's going to make things harder. It's potentially then going to lean over into stress of your family, assuming you
Mhm.
have one. So it's kind of a cascading level of events. So thus far, a couple of things that we have that um, before you are ready to compete, you need to have finances in check. Your relationships in your home life, your job, it all needs to be good and stable. And you need to give a coach enough time. Um, a lot of coaches are going to want to work with you before that 20-week period,
Mhm.
um, especially if you aren't currently following a diet and you haven't been working your calories up and you are inexperienced.
Yep. I basically have a 3 month rule. If somebody works with me and they want to do a show, I was like, I need at least 3 months with you. I need you to show me that not only can you train the way that I want you to train, can you follow the diet, and can you communicate with me, and can we have a rapport, and can we build something off of this?
Yeah.
I don't really have anybody that's like comes up to me and they be like, "Hey, man, I want to do a show in 16 weeks. You think you can get it done?" I'll be like,
Yep.
I don't know you. Like, not only do I not know your body, I just don't know how you respond to training. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're taking drugs. Like, there's
Yep.
so many different things that are involved. I think a lot of people see Instagram and they see these things and they're like, oh, like I want to do that. I think I can just flip a switch and do it. And there are certain people that certainly can, but for the majority of people, this is not the scenario, and you're just gonna
Yeah.
get yourself into trouble because if it is your first time, it'll be a rude awakening. It'll challenge you. It'll push you to places that you've never been before. You'll be days and nights where you're just ridiculously hungry and you have to just find a way to keep your mind busy or find a way
Yep.
to avoid the hunger and cravings and stuff like that.
Yep. It gets bad. I mean, we've told some stories before. I mean, I've told my Tic Tac story about me sucking on Tic Tacs in a hot bath.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it gets rough, right? And
Yeah.
is there anything else that we need checked off before somebody's ready to compete? Before
So
we go off on a tangent.
yeah, yeah. Me and you are both ready to pop off on a tangent. I don't really think so. I mean, I think the emotional side of things, the personal, the financial side of things, are all pretty important. And
Mhm.
obviously, having an actual understanding of where you are currently in your physique when it comes to a contest prep. Right?
Yep.
If you're your first time and you're kind of a string bean and you're getting ready to do a show and you expect to somehow just absolutely blow it away or whatever it may be, like you have to hamper your expectations as far as how you're going to do things. But as far as contest prep ready, you just need to have that good communication, and you need to give your coach enough time and give yourself enough time. There, you do not want to do a short prep. You will most likely hate it and never want to do a contest prep again, because you will have to be pushed to extremes that are just not reasonable and they're just not consistent. And it's not what bodybuilding is about.
My very first prep, it was 12 weeks. It was a 12-week prep. But this was coaches existed, but coaches were not popular like they are today. Okay.
No,
It was 2018, and this coach had me eating grapefruit and chicken breast for breakfast.
it doesn't just sound good.
No.
So,
Do you know how bad grapefruit tastes with
yeah, I
no
hate.
sugar on it, with
I,
no nut, like just raw, just straight grapefruit?
it's
Do you
bitter
know,
as fuck.
do you know
It's
how
gross.
tart that shit is?
Yeah, it's so bitter.
And then you're eating
Dry ass
fried
chicken.
chicken breast at 6 o'clock in the morning. Yep. I
Yeah,
was,
that's fun.
but to be honest, I've gone way less food than that since, uh, and to other depths, right? But like,
Mhm.
um, yeah, a 12-week prep is just, unless you're an experienced guy, like you'll hear experienced people doing 12 weeks preps, like Martin Fitzwater will do a short prep because he gets lean easy. He knows his physique. He also doesn't get fat in the off season, right? So like when we're talking about those scenarios, like you guys that are looking to compete for the first, I would say one, two, three times, third time, don't look at the pros and what they're doing. It's
Bad
not
idea.
applicable. It's not applicable to you, not at all. And if
Nope.
anybody comes to you and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can get you ready in 12 weeks," they're full of it.
Like, wait a second, wait a second. Martin Fitzwater doesn't do any cardio 8 weeks out. He doesn't do any cardio. Why am I doing cardio? Yeah,
Yeah,
Martin
yeah, yeah,
Fitzwater's a
yeah, yeah,
fucking freak.
yeah,
He's done preps where he's done a shit ton of cardio too. He's also a shit ton of muscle. He's
yeah.
also top best four in the world.
Exactly. Like the worst thing you can do is compare yourself and compare what you're doing to somebody else's plan. Like,
Yep.
look, I get it. I get asked. Okay, I've been asked to do preps before, and I've declined them because they were going to be a short prep. But I also have taken on preps that were 16 weeks.
Mm.
But it was because it was an experienced guy. I knew he had competed before. I knew he had competed quite a few times, right? And he looked good. Okay. However, I don't know where that came from. That's not what I was supposed to be talking about, or not what I was thinking I was talking about. But,
Mm.
I'm sorry. The point I was supposed to be getting to, or I thought that I was going to be getting to, was that people ask me all the time. They say, "Hey, I'm doing XYZ. I'm this far out. What do you think?" And the reality is that I don't have a thought. I don't care because this is your coach's plan. I do not know
No.
everything that your coach knows. I am not in the weeds of your prep, so I cannot give an opinion. And people that do give an opinion are probably just out to get your money.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, if you tell me that your coach has you doing something asinine, like taking 3 grams of testosterone, or you're starting diuretics 4 weeks out, like I'm going to tell you that that is asinine.
That's dumb. Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of that out there, right? And you see that all the time. People are like, "Hey, this is what my thing looks like." I'm just like, fuck, do I look like your coach? Like, if you, I don't know what this has been. I don't even know if you've been on your diet this whole entire time. Your diet may look like this, but you might have been snacking the whole 6 weeks prior to this, and that's why this looks like this.
Yep.
I don't know that. The only person that knows that is between you and your coach. So if you do that, don't try to backseat coach with somebody. Don't try it out of a client. If a client does that to you or somebody else, not even a client, just a fucking random person. No, that's not how this works. You have a conversation with your coach unless it's obviously something that's putting your health at a
Yep.
huge risk, like a diuretic or abusing drugs or doing 2 hours of cardio at 16 weeks out.
Mhm.
These are the things that we need to watch out for.
The reality is that there are so many. There's okay. I told my barber this yesterday because we were talking about bodybuilding. We're talking about coaching actually, and I said, there's kind of only two hard rules in our space, right? One is that you need to be in a calorie surplus to put on weight. Two, you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. Those are the only two hard, fast rules that we have. Okay. Everything else is subjective. It changes person to person, and there are a million ways to do this. Now, there are some general guidelines that I believe are right and wrong, and just the way that you do, right? But the reality is that, like, there's a lot of ways to get this done. And unless we are in the weeds with you, we cannot tell you what is right or wrong, whether it's a good decision or a bad decision.
Yep. Have that conversation with your coach.
Mhm.
Because if you're reaching out to someone like one of us that's not your coach, and then it somehow gets back to your coach, it's just gonna be a messy situation. And none of us really want any stuff like that. So
Yeah.
if you have any questions, concerns with your coaches when you're doing your contest prep, this obviously sounds like a much more scenario for someone that's a first timer,
Mhm.
or maybe just has trust issues already with their coach. Which if you already have trust issues with your coach, you need to hammer those out before you're doing a
Yeah.
contest prep. That's also another thing. If you're ready for contest prep, if you have trust issues with your coach and you go into contest prep, it's obviously not a good
It's
thing.
not a
You
good
need to
one. Yeah.
you need to hammer out all your stuff with your prep issues or any sort of communication issues that you may have.
Mhm.
I kind of wanted to lead way into this since we're already talking about, are you ready for contest prep? How did you know you were ready for your first contest prep?
I did it.
He didn't, guys.
I literally one day was like, I think I want to try to compete, and I just want to do it to see if I like it. I love this working out thing. I just want to step on stage. Like, let's see if I can do it. Let's see if I like it. And I did, so I kept doing it.
Now, so for people out here that are listening, there might be some young kids or young adults that are listening to this, and
Mhm.
they might have that exact same thought process to you. And you also did a 12-week prep. So what happens if one of these kids come to you and they say, "Hey, like I love working out. I don't know, I really want to try this compete things," and then they give you a timeline for whatever reason. Maybe they're going on vacation in 14 weeks and they need to do a 12-week prep.
So if you're talking about a young kid, I mean, I was at the time I was 25. I was leaner than your average person, but I wasn't stage lean by any means. Um, especially a younger guy that is leaner. I would say that if you just want to see if this is something that you like and you can do, honestly, I'm not going to necessarily argue a 12-week prep. Now, whether I want to be involved or not, that's a different conversation. And it will depend on the person, right? Um, but who am I to tell you no when I did it?
Yeah, that was kind of the point I was getting to, and like you said, it's hard to say when somebody kind of has that come up to you and has that conversation.
Yeah.
Like my competitor last year which is also one of my good friends, Dakin, was my first client ever. So I had already been working with him for 2.5 years, and then during this process, he asked me, about 10, 12 weeks out, he's like, "I want to do a show. Can you get me there? Like, can we do a show in this time matter?" And me already know, I know his body like the back of my hand. And this is somebody that we already said, like before, he just doesn't get fat. Like, you can feed him a lot of food. He just stays lean. He stays in good shape. He doesn't need a lot of cardio.
Yeah.
He just needs to be in a controlled diet and just start slowly going down. And again, that's a case by case scenario, right? Because yes, that was like a 12-week prep, but I already knew this guy like the back
Yeah.
of my hand. So for me to do a 12-week prep with him, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I know how to do that. Now, if, like I said, if we're having somebody totally random, there's just way too many variables at play and just hamper expectations. If you ready for a contest prep, give it more than a day's thought. Like, give it, let yourself kind of marinate on it for some
Yeah.
time. Maybe you track your own diet for 8 weeks.
You absolutely still need to make sure that those things are in check, because I can tell you this, my relationship was not in check. My finances were not in check, and that was one of the hardest times of my life that I've
Mhm.
ever gone through. I lost my job in the middle of prep, to be honest with you, and how I continued prepping, I have no idea.
Yeah,
Now, don't get me wrong, I found another job during the prep, but there were a couple of weeks where like I was
sketch.
working a different job. Yeah, it was
Mhm.
not fun. It was not great. Um, I don't suggest doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of the whole point when we're saying we're ready for contest prep. We're saying not to do these things. But then that's not to say that we haven't had these things or we haven't done these things. That obviously makes us coaches. Even last year for me, it was a very stressful time for me. And I just hopped into a prep
Hmm.
even after doing a vacation for a full on week.
Yep.
None of these things that I was doing would I have recommended to kind of do in anybody. Obviously, I'm a coach and I'm experienced and I know my body and I was already on a semi decent track in that way, in that sense of things.
Hmm.
But in the end, it did hamper my results. It did hamper my ability to be absolutely peeled. I did crush
Hmm.
myself in a little bit, but at the time, that was just kind of what I was doing. So when I tell people, whenever like you get into these situations, sometimes when you go into a prep, you might start into a prep and things might be totally fine. And now midway during it, and you're really locked in, things, your job, whatever may be going on, might
Yep.
just kind of blow up in your face. And kind of having a good coach is very important so you can have conversations and talk to. Because if you don't have that and you feel like you need to keep things a secret or hide things that, from your coach that are very obviously important, like, you need to have those conversations with your coach and be able to express if you're feeling, you know, some sort of way as far as life is taking you. You need to have that conversation because it's not something you can necessarily put underneath a rug. A contest prep is not really going to hide these things.
No. The reality as well is that a good coach will be able to advise you as to whether you should pull out or not.
Yep.
Um, I've had to pull people from prep before, at 3 weeks out, and
Yep.
arguably, like, it probably would have led to an overall win. It sucked, but it was absolutely the best thing for him. Like, he was not okay, and he probably would have continued had I have allowed him to.
Yep.
Um, I have other situations where, like, I have a guy right now. He's going through it. He's not a bodybuilder, but he is a power lifter, and he's got to lose some weight before the start of his prep because he wants to move classes. And so, but he is going through it. But he's staying on plan, and to some degree, I think that staying on plan and staying regimented can help you through these times,
Sure.
because when you start to eat really badly, um, it just kind of compounds. Now your body starts to feel bad. Now you start to have regret. Now you start to beat yourself up mentally over you not being able to do X, Y, and Z. And so maintaining that regimen can be good for you. But it's between you and your coach as to whether you need to go through with an event. He's not getting ready for a particular event, where he needs to perform. Otherwise, we might be having a different conversation. Um, Now, I don't handle his training. So for him specifically, that's maybe not the conversation I have. That may be a conversation for another coach.
Mhm.
But for a bodybuilding client, I'm absolutely going to have that conversation if they're open with me about what's going on in their life.
Yeah, you just got to be able to have that communication because, like I said, at any moment in the contest prep, right, it can kind of just blow up in you. And like you said, it is one of those things that it can also keep you on a path. It could keep you focused in a certain way, right? Where there's something that might be out of your control that's going on in your life, it could give you that sense of control. You do control what you eat. You do control your output. You do control a certain amount of things. at the end of the day, when things kind of go on, you can only control what you can control. So
Yep.
making sure you have that communication with your coach, I think, is also very crucial.
100%. You got anything else, bud?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, I guess I could go into the sense of, how when you were ready for a contest prep, you didn't really know. You just kind of dove into it.
Hmm.
Whenever I decided to go into a contest prep, it was very deliberate.
Yep.
It was a very executive decision. It was, I had just finished up college. I, was trying to show, um, kind of prove the things that I was always into. I was doing powerlifting and I've always done bodybuilding for a little while, but this was a huge stepping point, is doing my first contest prep to show that not only could I do one, but that
Hmm.
I was on the path that I thought I wanted to be on.
Yeah.
And so it was a very calculated decision. There were some things that happened during that prep, like we talked about with all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I lost some people during that prep. There were some huge life things that were kind of going on. There were some very self isolating moments, and there was a lot of hunger because that first prep was rough for me. But for the showcase, it was, as a natural. I got pretty peeled for that show, and that was because there was just days where I was just eating chicken and mustard for long periods of time as
Yeah.
natural. I was doing all sorts of things, and I was just trying to make sure I ticked all my boxes. But even in that sense, it was a 26-week prep. This was a
Yeah.
long time, people. This was a long time of me being on my shit the entire time, going through a move, going through family funerals, and going through different things, not missing a beat the entire time. So these are the things that I willingly knew going into that contest prep, that no matter what kind of happened, you can't let yourself slip up once, because one slip up will just make you an excuse for the next slip up. Like, oh, I missed cardio this morning. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll make sure I do it tomorrow. And then if it happens again, if it's like whatever reason, a treadmill's down at your apartment gym or whatever you're at, you got to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, 100%. The one thing that I want everybody to take away from that is that Ian and I are completely opposite, in that he went about bodybuilding the right way and I went about it the wrong way. That's why I coach people today, to help you avoid all of the stupid shit I did. Like deciding to up and do a show at 12 weeks out,
Hell yeah, brother.
running trend for my first show. Hell, I'd run trend before I'd ever competed, right? Like the things that I've done, the only thing I haven't done is run 2 grams of test. And I actually did do that for 1 week on accident.
Oh, I remember
Um,
that. I remember that.
yeah, yep. I actually did do that on accident, for 1 week. But the point of it is that Ian and I provide unique value in that he's done a lot of things the right way and I have not. So I'm getting to a place now where I'm doing things the right way, and experimenting. When I do experiment, it's done in a right way. It's done in a very thought out and methodical way. But it hasn't always been like that. I was that bro that decided to hop on juice one day because I thought it would be fun. So
Was
it
it
is what it
fun?
is. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
was
Absolutely. It's fun as shit.
I was peeled out of my mind.
You're like, God damn it, eating Popeyes, Taco Bell, eating whatever the fuck, just being absolute
I
dice.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
being on drugs and in college are two things that
Oh God.
should not coincide.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think I would have done well when I was in college doing gear. I'd have been out of control.
Anyways, that's it for
Well,
today. We'll call it there.
perfect. I think that's a good stopping point.
Later, guys.
Later.